Good evening and welcome to the March Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, March 15th, 2018. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We will start off first with prayer and praise of allegiance. Mark's going to lead us in prayer and Stephen's going to lead us with a pledge. Please rise.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for your presence in Smyrna and ask you to continue to have your way in Smyrna and guide us this evening in this meeting. May your will be done. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, fellas. Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments, and Kevin, I see none at this time.
That's correct.
Excellent. Item 4 will be approval and correction of the minutes from the February 15th meeting. You should have those in your packets, and if you've had an opportunity to review them, any corrections or adjustments besides Vice Chairman?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion?
And I second.
And 2 seconds. So
That's a fourth.
which we'll go with Mark. I think I heard him first. Okay. All right. So we got a motion and a second. All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
And no opposed. So minutes are approved. Next item is new business. Mitch, this is where you get to do your thing.
All right. First request is a special exception. Applicant has requested a special exception to construct an accessory apartment at 413 Shamrock Drive. Property is zoned R3, medium density residential, and is approximately 0.24 acres in size. Proposed accessory apartment addition will be attached to the existing house and approximately 608 square feet in size. The addition is currently being constructed and readying for final steps of construction phases. Section 7.060B of the zoning ordinance details the requirements for authorizing special exceptions, and these are detailed below. General requirements: a conditional use permit special exception shall be provided that the board finds that it A, is so designed, located, proposed to be operated so that the public's health, safety, and welfare will be protected. Staff finds proposed use of an attached accessory apartment will not negatively affect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. B, will not adversely affect other property in the area in which it is located. Staff finds proposed use should not adversely affect other properties in the surrounding area. C, is within the provisions of special exceptions as set forth in this ordinance. Section 5.051.1C lists accessory apartments as special exceptions in the R3 district. D, conforms to all applicable provisions of this ordinance for the districts in which it is to be located, as well as the provisions cited in section 7.060 and 7.061, and is necessary for public convenience in the location plan. Staff finds that this site may be able to conform to all provisions of the municipal zoning ordinance as listed in criteria review section 7.060C. Criteria for review: prior to the issuance of a special exception, the board shall make written findings certifying compliance with the specific rules governing individual special exceptions, and that satisfactory provisions and arrangement has been made concerning all the following where applicable: ingress and egress to property and proposed structures thereon with particular reference to automotive and pedestrian safety and convenience, traffic flow and control, and access in case of fire catastrophe. Access to the site will utilize the existing driveway off Shamrock Drive. Off-street parking and loading area were required, with particular attention to the items in item 1 above. The economic, noise, vibrations, glare, or odor effects of the special exception on or by adjoining properties and properties generally in or near the district. Staff finds that the lot provides sufficient space for parking with the garage and driveway. Refuse and service areas with particular reference to items 1 and 2 above. Refuse collection will proceed in the same manner as current. Utilities with reference to location, availability, and compatibility. This site has all the necessary utilities on site. Screening and buffering with reference to type, dimensions, and character, not applicable in this case. Signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony with the properties in the district. Staff finds proposed accessory apartment use will fit the compatibility with properties in the same district in reference to the above effects. Required yard and open space. Staff finds there is adequate space on this lot to support an attached accessory apartment in addition to the primary residence in this R3 district. General compatibility with adjacent properties and other property in the district. Staff finds the use may be compatible with adjacent properties, and 9 is not applicable, and staff would recommend approval of this request.
Thank you, Mitch. At this time, we will close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open up the public hearing. Oh, yeah, I forgot you, didn't I? Sorry, Kevin. You
Yeah,
want
we
to
do
do that?
have
So let's go
couple
back to the
shots
Board of Zoning
here.
Appeals.
Yeah. This is the
Forgot to
house. You can kind
Got
of
ahead
see
of
the addition. This was permitted through codes as an addition to the house, and through inspections, they discovered that it was in reality or could be converted into a separate unit, an apartment with
Gotcha.
kitchen facilities and laundry facilities and that sort of thing, separate from the main house. And so that's when we talked with the applicants, and they did come in to bring it into compliance. They are under construction. You can see it's kind of in to the back right of the house there. And this is just, again, kind of another shot of it. You can kind of see that's kind of the separate door, and with the addition there, and I think that's the only two we got on that one. I don't believe we've had any calls or anything like that from any neighbors, or anything on this.
Okay, so you said no calls from neighbors?
Correct.
Excellent. I was wondering when I looked at this how I got this far along before they got here, so it makes
Yeah.
sense if we didn't realize it was an apartment. All right, so back to where I was. We'll try this again. Close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open up a public hearing for anyone that would like to speak for or against this request. Please step to the podium, name and address, please.
Good afternoon to everyone. Everybody first, my name is Marcel Diaz. I'm the owner with my wife of 413 Shamrock Drive.
Excellent. Excellent.
Mhm.
So, I guess you're building a mother-in-law quarters, it looks like.
Yeah, at the moment, before we start everything, my mom passed away last year, February 25th, and I had regrets a little bit about taking her. So I explained to my wife I didn't want that to happen to her. So we tried to make something because we're still young. We got the money, so we tried to make plans. So when that happened, because it's gonna happen at some point, we don't have to wait. So I start making drawing, and I bring it here to get the approval on it. I have to change it like 3 times. I got the approvals. After that, I got the equity loan. So we start the construction. We have everything right, the siding, the wrapping, After when the framing came, a second inspector came, a different one. And when he saw it, he said, he was adamant that I cannot do this. I have to get an approval to do an apartment. I explained him I haven't changed anything in the floor plans. I feel a little bit disappointed. We already have it approved. I already put the equity loan. It's a lot of money, and it was approved. The only change that I did, I explained it on the floor plans that I provide for the application. So, but he explained me that is because if I sell the house, I could get in trouble. If something happened to me and my wife had to rent it because she cannot pay, she needs to have that like approval or this permit. So like he explained me, he's of course he has knowledge and he knows what he's doing. So that's why we're here.
Okay, great. It actually looks like a pretty cool design. I noticed your name on the drawing. So you designed this?
Yeah, I'm a drafter.
Yeah, it looks really good. Any questions for Mr. Diaz? No?
None here.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Diaz. No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll close the public hearing, reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals. Before we go into discussion, Kevin, you may not be prepared because I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but what's the criteria that kind of puts this into an accessory apartment? Is it the fact that it has a bedroom and a bathroom and a kitchen, or is it the size? What's the criteria that, and really not necessarily for Mr. Diaz, but for anyone else in the future that's looking
Right.
at this that may say, how do I know when I've got to be, when it's an apartment and when it's not just a room addition, right?
Right, and it's when there's a separate, how we've always administered is it's separate it is separate or could be separated very easily into separate fully independent living quarters.
Okay.
If you doesn't necessarily have to have the laundry facilities, though this one does. But certainly living in bedroom areas, and primarily what we look at is the second kitchen. If you have a fully equipped kitchen as a separate kitchen, not just a sink and, like you might have in a rec room or something like that, where you might have a small refrigerator and a sink and microwave or whatever, but a fully equipped, stove connections and all of that. That's when we look at it. Even if it's not necessarily now, it could very easily be, a separate, independently
Sure.
utilized dwelling unit, either by the family member or they could rent it or whatever. And so that's kind of how we've administered it.
Okay, that makes sense.
In the past.
I see, it's got an external entrance, pretty much can park right up in front of it. There is a door connecting this to the existing house, but obviously that door could be shut and locked, and it does make
Right.
it completely separate.
Right.
So thank you, I appreciate the explanation. I just wanted to make sure that anybody else looking at this maybe understands the difference
Right.
between the two, so they don't get this far along. The good thing in this case, and I'll let the rest of you speak here, but it looks well designed. It looks like it's being built properly. It fits on the lot. It's not too close. Everything looks good. So fortunately, I think it's kind of a non-issue. It's just a formality. Unfortunately, if someone else had done this and got right up on a property line or across some sort of easement or something, it might have
Right.
been a bigger problem. So,
Right.
comments, anybody? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for, what's the zoning?
It's just an accessory apartment in
For an
the
accessory
R3 zone.
apartment.
Right.
Okay. No stipulations? I'm good with that. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, there's no hardship. or
Okay.
anything.
All right. So we have motion to approve as is.
Second.
And a second. We have a motion and a second. Don't fight over it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so the motion is approved. So appreciate your hard work, and it looks like it's going to be nice. So good luck to you. All right, next item on the agenda is New Source Medical, 133 Weekly Lane, Suite 260. Mitch?
The applicant has requested a special exception to allow a general business service use within the light industrial district at 133 Weekly Lane. Property is zoned I-1 light industrial and is approximately 2.42 acres in size. New Source Medical LLC is a company that delivers medical equipment to nursing homes, long-term care facilities, and hospitals. In addition, delivery vans will be utilized for this purpose and may be left overnight at this facility as well. Section 7.060B of the zoning ordinance details requirements for authorizing special exceptions, and they are detailed below. A conditional use permit special exception shall be provided that the board finds that it A, is so designed, located, and proposed to be operated so that public health, safety, and welfare is protected. Staff finds proposed use of general business services will not negatively affect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Will not adversely affect other property in the area in which it is located. Staff finds proposed use should not adversely affect other properties in the surrounding area. It is within the provisions of special exceptions as set forth in this ordinance. Section 5.053.1C lists general business service as a special exception in the I-1 district. Conforms to all applicable provisions of this ordinance for the district in which it is to be located, as well as provisions cited in sections 7.060 and 7.061, and is necessary for public convenience in the location plan. Staff finds that the site may be able to conform to all provisions of the municipal zoning ordinance as listed in criteria review section 7.060C. Criteria for review. Prior to the issuance of a special exception, the board shall make written findings certifying compliance with the specific rules governing individual special exceptions, and that satisfactory provisions and arrangement have been made concerning all of the following where applicable. Ingress and egress to the property and proposed structures thereon with particular reference to automotive and pedestrian safety and convenience, traffic flow and control, and access in case of fire catastrophe. Access to site will utilize the existing ingress egress off Weekly Lane. Off-street parking and loading area where required. Staff finds that the lot provides sufficient space for parking. Refuse and service areas with particular reference to items in 1 and 2 above. Refuse collection will proceed in the same manner as currently. Utilities with reference to location, availability, and compatibility. Location has all the necessary utilities available on site. Screening is not applicable in this case. Signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic, safety, economic effect, and compatibility and harmony with properties in the district. Staff finds that the proposed general business service use will fit the compatibility with properties in the same district in reference to the above effects. Required yard and other space. The staff finds that there is adequate space on this lot to support a general business service in addition to the other uses present at this site. General compatibility with adjacent properties and other property in the district. The staff finds that the use may be compatible with adjacent properties as there are other commercial uses present at the site as well. And 9 is not applicable, and staff would recommend approval of this request.
Thanks, sir. Kevin?
Yeah, we just got the one shot here. This is it's on Weekly Lane. There's kind of two buildings that are kind of parallel, kind of twin kind of layouts and square footages and everything. And so this is just to utilize. There are some non-industrial uses in this buildings already. There's a hair salon and a small grocery and a couple other things that they're not necessarily specifically industrial. There's a couple of churches in there. So this is really even though it is an industrial property, it does allow for certain commercial uses upon BZA review, and this is just one they do want to utilize this. We have looked at it from a parking standpoint, and there's adequate parking there, even though there are some more commercial type uses. They're kind of differing types of uses and differing primary times that they're there, and so it's not ever really been an issue to have commercial uses even in this industrial district because they've got adequate parking. So.
Okay, excellent. All right, we'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open up the public hearing for anyone to speak for or against. Not seeing anyone in the audience, we will go back to the Board of Zoning Appeals and for discussion. So, isn't this the same building that Rochelle's
Yeah.
business is in? I was thinking it looked familiar.
My question is what's adequate parking? And
Okay.
Do they have 10 trucks, 5 trucks, 2 trucks?
3 to 4 possibly.
Well, I was going to mention that I think we put, if we're going to approve it as the staff recommends, the letter states no more than 3 vehicles will be parked. So I think what we make sure that we put that in the stipulation to 3 vehicle max.
Okay, that sounds
It's
reasonable.
in their letter, so.
Yeah, in the letter in the packet, I think that's the last line, right?
Yep. So I think we just make sure we approve it based on a max of 3, so you don't get out there one day and they've got the whole side of the building tied up or something.
Parking lot.
That's the only comment I was going to make.
Since you're probably a little more familiar with this property, Wendell, is 3 reasonable, you think?
Well, during the day, it's pretty full. I mean, if I stop by there.
They're saying they're delivery
Overnight.
trucks, so they're saying they're going to be the overnight.
Yeah.
They would just be there at night primarily, yeah.
Sounds like they deliver during the day and everything, but they want to park, they have to park their vehicles at a warehouse or an office or something.
Yeah, right. And this is, the supplies, whatever medical supplies there are here at the building, and then they'll deliver them primarily during the day. And so this will be the vehicles, there'll be some employees, I'm sure, parked in there potentially, but as far as the delivery vans will be out during the day, for the most part.
As you can see in the picture, there are actually supply trucks that are usually
Yeah.
there quite
Yeah.
often. And they're usually there during the day too, so
Yeah.
sometimes in the morning they could be lined up all down that aisle, so that's why I wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
especially with a church. Does the church have adequate parking on the weekend if there's too many vehicles there?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the 3 limitation.
So they don't think a lot of it.
Anything, Mark?
Nope.
All right. With that, we'll entertain a motion. Stephen, if you got one, it sounds like you do.
You want me to go ahead and do it?
Yeah.
Do anybody else want to do it? Okay, I recommend approval of this request with the stipulation to, no more than 3 vehicles will be parked outside of the warehouse at night. Add that on to the approval request.
Okay, think we're covered there? Nathan, Kevin? Yeah, okay, excellent.
And a second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed, so the motion carries. The last item on the agenda for today, the next item is temporary use permit for Parkway Wine and Spirits at 711 President's Place. Mitch?
Yep. The applicant has requested a temporary use permit to allow food trucks at 611 President Place. Property is zoned C2, Highway Services Commercial District, and is approximately 1.32 acres in size. Building on the property is currently being used as a liquor store, and the property has access to President Place. The applicant has stated that they plan on utilizing the lot as is, not adding any more pavement for this purpose. Section 4.030 of the zoning ordinance details requirements for a temporary use permit. In addition, section 7.061.16 details specific requirements for this use, and they are detailed below. 7.061.16 special conditions for temporary outdoor sales of food or retail merchandise. A, approval in writing or of the owner of the subject property where the proposed use is to be located shall be included in the application. The owner may be the applicant. Approval of the proposed site location has been provided by the property owner. The site shall be improved to provide adequate parking as determined by the BZA and shall provide for an on-site turnaround area so that backing onto the street will not be necessary. In the event the proposed location will be on the site of an existing or used structure, the applicant must provide verification that the total site will continue to meet minimum parking requirements established in Article 4 of this ordinance. Adequate parking already exists at the site. No additional parking will be required. Traffic control measures may be required by the BZA. These may include a requirement that the applicant make provisions for the directing traffic during expected peak hours of operation. Staff does not believe traffic control measures will be required for this location. Tents will be permitted provided they are erected in conformance with all applicable codes. Any such tent must provide emergency exit remote from the point of entrance into the tent. Tents must be located on a paved concrete or graveled surface, and no event may be erected in a grass area. Tents must be maintained in good condition. Applicant has not indicated that tents will be used, but if tents are utilized, they must adhere to the above conditions. Any site must be located so that all parts of the structures and inventory on the site are not more than 500 feet from any operable fire hydrant. Proposed truck locations is located within 500 feet from an operable fire hydrant. Site shall not be approved from a period more than 14 days in a one time and no more than 28 days in a 12-month period. The applicant has provided the following schedule. Tennessee Wine Week being April 11th through the 14th, Tennessee Beer Week being June 6th through the 9th, Tennessee Spirits Week September 26th through the 29th, separate week of July 23rd through the 28th, and Cousins Maine Lobster present at the site March 29th, April 26th, May 24th, June 28th, July 26th, August 23rd, September 27th, October 25th, November 21st, and December 27th and 31st. Adequate provisions shall be made for restroom facilities on site. Condition that has been addressed by the owner or by the applicant. Owner states customers are welcome to use restroom facilities at the site. No permit shall be granted where there are violations. No permit violations are present at this property. Adequate provisions shall be made for solid waste management. There is an existing dumpster on site. Applicant has not stated if they will utilize any other form of solid waste management. BZA may require that additional standards be met in order to assure compatibility of the proposed location with adjoining properties. Staff would not recommend any additional standards, and K is not applicable in this case, and staff would recommend approval.
All right, Kevin?
Yeah, we just had the one shot. This is the liquor store here. It's at the corner there, right there on President Place. And but anyway, it has access from a couple of different locations through the adjoining shopping center and that sort of thing. There's adequate traffic access in and out. They have had this. They came through last year and did a very similar kind of approval or requested approval for several days kind of throughout the year. And so this is a similar application. That's what they did last year. The various weeks they're talking about, I think those will be multiple trucks potentially there. And then there's just the individual times at Cousins Maine Lobster. I think there is some duplication there. One of those dates, at
September.
least one of them, they'll be part of the bigger group.
Yeah,
But,
September 26th through 29th, they'll be part of that.
and then also the July
July
23rd
date.
to the 28th. So some of those dates do kind of duplicate there, but they kind of given us those separately, so we put those in too. But at those times, or at least most of those times, will just be the individual truck there.
Do we need to be concerned about the number of trucks?
I think they
mean,
did
I
have
don't-
this in here. I think I can't remember how many they said now. I think it was 3 to 5 at a time or something like that, potentially. They're there's a little bit, they don't know exactly how many and who can come what days and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, the only thing I was worried about is that the lot's not a lot of parking, and let's say they ended up having 10 or 15 trucks show up, they could affect traffic and other problems there. That's why I
Right.
wasn't sure if we needed to cap it at something, just to make sure.
Was it 7? Yeah, that's true. They did do that at one time. I know that for sure.
Yeah, I do remember that, seven trucks for 7 years
So
or
can they
something like
park
that.
7 across the front on the other side of that sign? That way, is that what they did?
I don't remember how they had them.
Because there's a parking around the other
Not
side.
unless
There's
it comes-
parking
unless it
on,
goes out the
kind of
road.
on all
And
sides
people
of the
come in,
building.
so
There's
park
kind of
on the side
parking
of the
all
road
around it.
to get to the
And then you do have the
facility. If you go to
adjoining
parking lot with food trucks, where's people gonna park?
parking lot for the shopping center there. Of course, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know there's easements there for ingress and egress for people to cross those.
Yeah, so, I mean, we have, I assume we have the appropriate rules in place of parking on the street, et cetera, so as long as
Right.
we're maybe Chief Arnold aware of these dates and they keep an eye on it, I'm sure somebody will call and complain if it becomes a problem,
Right,
so probably okay.
yeah.
Okay, we'll, close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open up public hearing for anyone that would like to speak for or against. Seeing no one, we will go back to the Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion. I don't really have any discussion. I remember Mr. Nettles' request last year, and it's not much different than what we just did for Cousins Maine Lobster last month or the month before that, right?
Right.
I'm assuming that the same truck, Cousins Maine Lobster in this case, it's 28 days at the same site, right? They can be in the city for more than 28 days, just not at the
Absolutely.
same site.
Right,
So since this was a different site, the other request doesn't apply. Okay.
right.
Same address being the site, description of the site,
Yeah, apparently,
Yeah, the same parcel of land, yeah.
same parcel of land, okay. So were you thinking that,
I just know he requested, when they came in, they requested 28 days.
I don't know if they did 28 or not. There was another food truck. A gentleman had 2 different locations, and he had 28
Right.
days at 2 different locations.
He's doing they're actually opening the restaurant. And so he was putting his truck in the parking lot pretty much every weekend until the restaurant opened.
that's
So
Cousins, right?
yeah, that's Cousins.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was 28 days or
Of
very close.
Humbleville Road?
Yeah, it was very close.
That's true,
So,
at the meeting, because he originally just asked for like
Yeah.
1 day or something, but
yeah,
he did give us
that's
more
why I was
information.
thinking. I was like, I know he's already requested 28 days, but maybe as long as it doesn't matter, as long as he had a different address, we're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
And with the 2 different bundle of dates, am I getting there? Is that 30 days?
I counted out, it's sitting around 27, 28.
Yeah, I can't.
because you do have some, like the
27,
Cousins
so
Maine
actually-
Lobster dates, you do have some
4 days, 5
duplication.
days.
That's 6 days.
This is
Yeah.
5.
That's
yeah.
18 up top, and then 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 5, 29.
There's dates that over.
Yeah, but
The July 26th day,
two of the ones under Cousins Maine Lobster
September
are also
27th.
represented above.
So when
right,
they're duplicated, you just don't count. You can only
Yeah.
Right, I didn't count
Yeah.
those, but December 27th through 31st.
that's just 2 days though, it's 27th
It's
and the
and.
31st.
Oh, and, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not all 5 of those days, yeah.
Gotcha. Missed that.
Yeah, I came right
So
up
I
to
should wear my
28.
glasses all of that.
They did get very tricky with us there.
So my only question now is what you said, Steve. Do we want to cap it at 7 trucks, or do we want to do any cap on that?
I'm actually okay probably not capping it. Just
Okay.
as long as If it becomes a problem, we'll send the police out to handle it, I guess.
I mean, if
right?
there's two, if
What
they're
do you
not,
think?
if they don't have adequate parking to the point where people are parking on the street or something, then that becomes an issue. We can address that. with the
Yeah,
police
that's
department.
the only thing I was worried about is if he had 10 trucks show up, that's going to fill his parking lot up. Well, who's going to visit the trucks? The people parking on the street, right?
Yeah.
So, because there's nowhere for them to park,
Probably
right?
more like the people parking in the other businesses' parking lot, because that's
Right.
attached to
Yeah,
the public's
the
parking lot.
attached shopping center parking lot. Yeah, there
Yeah,
are,
on
there
the
is
backside.
parking on the side and some in the back even on their property, so it's not just what you're seeing in that picture.
Okay. Yeah, so I think as long as we're comfortable with the parking situation and we have a plan to handle it if something happens, I think we're good.
It wasn't an issue last year, I know,
Yeah.
so.
I hope this event is successful and grows, but not too much, right? All right, any further discussion? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept as presented.
All right, we got a motion for approval as presented. Any seconds?
Second.
Wendell with a second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And none opposed. The motion is approved. Next item on the agenda is staff comments and/or other.
I don't really have anything else. No.
Okay, now, only thing I would like to add is I will not be here for next month's meeting, April 19th, so it'll be imperative that the rest of you are. There will be officer elections will be at that month as well.
New person join us.
And we will have a new person, Mr. Jay Michelson has graciously applied and been approved, so we'll have Jay next month as well. I think that's it. Stephen will be our vice chair. We'll handle next month's meeting. If that's it, motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion and a second, we're adjourned. A second.